Good evening, everyone. My name is Celeste McCall, and I'm the Tech and Telecom Fellow at the National Council of Negro Women. And I'm super excited for tonight's webinar, and I want to thank you so much for your patience. And I want to welcome everyone again to this evening's webinar, The Women Behind the Scenes Building Through Community. So the reason for tonight's webinar is that although the number of Black women-owned businesses has grown exponentially over the years, a lot of Black women entrepreneurs are saying that they don't know who to go to, where to go, or what organizations are actually out there to help support them in building and growing a scalable business. So the purpose of tonight's webinar is to focus on the importance and power of mentorship and how you can use mentorship to help your business or your startup have every chance at success. So before we get into the substantive material for tonight, I want to introduce the amazing Yolanda Caraway, and then we can talk about who and what is a mentor, why mentors are needed, and how to go about finding one. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ms. Yolanda Caraway. Ms. Caraway has over 30 years of policy-making, project management, and national and international political experience, often sought to coordinate major activities for the Democratic Party as well as private organizations. Her list of professional achievements showcases years of organizational ability and management expertise. Ms. Caraway has played a major role in shaping the goals and objectives of the National Democratic Party and has been called upon throughout her career to coordinate various party efforts. In 1989, after she served as Chief of Staff for the Jesse Jackson 88 presidential campaign, she played a pivotal role in the historic election of the late Secretary of Commerce, Ron Brown, to chair the Democratic National Committee. She later became Chairman Brown's senior advisor at party headquarters and went on to serve for 20 years as a Democratic National Committee member. Ms. Caraway has participated in every national convention since 1984 and most recently managed the backstage and podium operations for the 2008, 2012, and 2016 Democratic National Conventions. Since founding the Caraway Group in 1987, she has led her team in the counseling of a number of well-known Fortune 500 companies, nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and high-profile individuals in every aspect of communication strategy. She is a nationally recognized public relations and public affairs strategist who is known for policymaking, political management, and public relations work in government and the nonprofit and private sectors. Ms. Caraway has worked with major U.S. companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Google, AT&T, MGM Mirage, Bristol Myers Squibb, Burger King, Mitsubishi, and Texaco. She has also counseled government and nonprofit agencies such as the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Center for American Progress, the NATO 50th Anniversary Summit, the NAACP Image Awards, the Martin Luther King Jr. National Memorial Foundation Project, and the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. In 2009, Ms. Caraway was appointed to the Council on American Politics, a group of nationally renowned political leaders addressing current affairs and working toward the growth and enrichment of the George Washington University School of Political Management. Ms. Caraway is a member of the Corporate Directors Group in the American College of Corporate Directors, a member of the Board of Directors of the Washington Performing Arts Society, and serves on the advisory committee of Head and Heart Philanthropy. She is a co-author of For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Politics and was featured in the $50 Billion Boss, African American Women Sharing Stories of Success in Entrepreneurship and Leadership. That is an amazing resume. And so I'm super excited and honored to have Ms. Yolanda Caraway join us tonight for this evening's webinar. Thank you, Ms. Caraway.
Thank you, Celeste. I'm impressed with me.
Amazing.
So what would you like me to, what's your first thing that you would like for me to talk about? I have a lot of things I want to talk about, but.
So that's great. So I don't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about maybe yourself and your experience professionally. I know I went through a lot, giving a great background on your experience, but maybe your experience specifically on mentorship and what and who is a mentor for you and to you.
Well, why don't I start out with saying how I got started, which was not the traditional way at all. I think I was one of those kids that always had a job, always had a business. I had a lemonade stand. I sold Amway when I was 12. I got together with my friends one year and we made Christmas ornaments and sold them at church. I used to make cheesecakes and sell them at church. So I always had a gig and I always had a way to make some money. At a certain point, I wanted my profession to be, I wanted to be a psychiatric social worker. And it didn't turn out that way. I got into sales as a profession, and then I kind of did politics on the side. But the political thing is what drew me in. When I was 14 years old in high school, I lived in Rochester, New York, and a friend of mine approached me and said, come on down with me and volunteer to work on Bobby Kennedy's campaign. He was running it was after President Kennedy was assassinated, and he was running for Senate in New York State. And I said, okay, I'll do that. I had never done anything political before in my life, but we all loved President Kennedy, and this was his brother, so we figured it was cool. So I took the bus every day from East High School, from the east side to the west side, to go work in his office. I licked envelopes. I called people. I knocked on doors. I did all kinds of things, and that was my first experience in politics, and I loved it. And I think I was bitten by the bug from that because I saw how there was a different way to help people, not necessarily by being a social worker, but there are other ways to help people, and that's what I really wanted to do. So after, that was my first big political thing, and I actually have a letter from him, and I'm sure it was signed by an auto pen, but it's framed and it's in my office.
That's amazing.
So then I moved to Baltimore. I lived with my sister and brother-in-law, who was a minister, and he was involved in politics. So he was always working on a campaign, and I was always working on the campaigns with them. And he decided to run for office as a state legislator. And he was elected, and I ran his office. So that was like my first professional job in politics. So from there, I went to work for Barbara Mikulski when she was a congresswoman. Went to work in her office, and then I went to the Democratic National Committee and was there for a number of years. And that's where I really got my background and my knowledge about politics and my opportunity to really learn something. It was a great experience, but I still had this in the back of my mind. I said, I want to have my own business. So at that point, it was probably something that had more to do with politics. I didn't quite figure it out. But by 1987, I did figure it out, and I started a business. I was working for Jesse Jackson at the time. I started a business, and I finished out that campaign, and then I started doing business through my company. And it was we pretty much was an event planning company. We planned, we did the 1989 Mayor's Urban Summit for David Dinkins in New York, which was a huge thing back then. We did like the anniversary of NASA. We did we did all DEP's events. And then after about 5 or 6 years or so, I moved into PR because we started doing PR around the events that we did and realized that it was much less labor intensive and more lucrative. So we kind of switched. So we did events and PR. So we grew and we got known, and we were like one of the few boutique Black firms in the country that was national and had the kind of contacts that people needed. And we got a lot of business early on. It was by word of mouth. So we operated. Most of the mentors I had back then were probably the male mentors I worked for. a lot of people at DNC. There weren't a lot of young Black women my age that were involved in politics at that level. So I was like kind of one of the only ones back then. There were a few others that came before me, but there weren't a lot of us. So the whole mentorship thing, and I talk about in the $50 billion boss, I talk about mentorship. That's my chapter. And I always tell people to don't look for what you think your traditional mentor would be. Like if you're a Black woman, don't think necessarily that your mentor is going to be a Black woman. It might not be. You might meet a white woman. And a white woman was my first mentor at the DNC, at Barbara Mikulski's office. She actually hired me to work for Barbara, and she went to the DNC, and she took me to the DNC with her. Her name is Ann Lewis, and she's still a great friend today. What you need to look for is not necessarily someone who looks like you, but someone who is in the kind of business that you want to get into and has the kind of experience that you want to have and you want to find out how to get. And then you just, and a mentor is someone that advises you. I mean, it's not somebody that you can attach to your hip and drive you crazy, but it's someone that is available to you for you to call and ask for advice. And I mentor a lot of people. I call them or send them an email. If I get an email, say I get emails about somebody who needs a videographer, and I'll send it to one of my young friends who does videography. But that's what you're really looking for in a mentor. You want somebody who is willing to help you figure out how to achieve your goals. It's not an easy thing, and so you really do need help.
Yeah. So when you started the Caraway Group in '87, this like new job venture, this new business venture, event planning that became PR, like was that self-learned or did you have a mentor along the way to kind of say, like, this is kind of what you need, these are the documents?
I'm pretty much self-made.
Awesome. So
like I said, there have been great people in my life that have helped me with a lot of things. People that, as I said early on, it was all word of mouth, and people were very helpful in getting me business. But I didn't.
I think your audio went out.
Testing.
Oh, okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. Where did I leave? What's the last thing you heard?
The last thing I heard was that you were self-made, and that although there's been a lot of people along the way, you kind of like paved the way for yourself as far as like what you know in your business.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say I paved the way by myself. There were plenty of other people that did it, but I didn't have like one specific person. No, I take that back. I did have a person. I take that back. She's no longer with us. Her name is Carolyn Jones, and she was in advertising. And I met her in 1984 during the Mondale campaign. Her agency was Mingo Jones, and they were hired to come in and do the Black advertising. So she was a mentor, and she taught me how to write my first invoice. I worked for her for a good while as a consultant. We had an account in the Bahamas where we did politics for the Prime Minister, and I did that and other things as well. But she was definitely a mentor. But there were other great women that were around. But in terms of my particular business and what I wanted to do, I didn't have a lot of mentorship with that. I had people that helped me in other ways, but not so much on the business end.
Okay. So I think you made a really great point about having a mentor in the industry that you want to be in. And although that mentor doesn't exactly look like you, that's really important. So right now we're going to do a poll and kind of poll our attendees and ask this question, whether or not you, as you are venturing on your own startup, as you are a beginning entrepreneur, whether you have a mentor that is specific to your career, business, or industry. So I'm going to let Mr. McFarland put the poll up on the screen, and then we're going to give people time to respond.
You can't see me now, right? Oh no, he put the poll. Yeah, how do you know how many people are on here?
All right, we'll close the poll in just a few seconds.
Okay.
Your results are on the screen.
Okay. I'm not sure if I can see.
You have to go to your pane that says Audience View over on
Okay.
the control panel.
Yes, I can see it. All right. Wow. So the results are that we have less people who actually have a mentor in their specific career, business, or industry. I would like to think that a lot of people actually do have mentors, especially if you've gone to college, kind of like having a mentor or being a part of like a big brother, big sister program. Having a mentor has always kind of been a big thing, but oftentimes we don't actually have one that's specific to our career, our business, our industry. So I think Ms. Caraway made a great point, and one of our attendees, Alicia Bryant, also agreed that even though a mentor may not look like you, that they accomplish what you want to do, or they are in a space in their career where you want to be, is really important that you look for that when searching for a mentor. Did I quote you correctly, Ms. Caraway? I don't want to misquote you.
Yes, you did.
Okay, great. So that kind of brings us into why mentors are needed. And Ms. Caraway, I know you mentioned that you didn't necessarily have a mentor specific in your industry when you started off with the Caraway Group in 1987. But I wanted to ask, do you think it would have made a difference? And if it would have made a difference to have a mentor in that specific industry, would you recommend or encourage other people to have mentors at the start of, starting their own business or startup?
Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you a story, but I'm not gonna name names.
Okay.
There was a specific person, black male, who I wanted to mentor me. He was very well known in the industry and very successful. He had mentored a lot of young black men. I had someone very high up make an introduction and ask him to do that, and he never followed up on it. So that was pretty disappointing to me. But that was like the only time. And I just, I think when you're starting out and you're moving at the speed of light and you're trying to figure out how to make ends meet and get money, get clients and get money to pay people, you don't often sit down and think, okay, well, I need a mentor. So, I think the best time to get a mentor is when you start to think about going into business at the beginning. And they can be very helpful. That could have been really helpful to me, because I started out like in my bedroom, and my friends laughed at me when I first got the first office space I got. I took all the stuff from my bed. I had a bedroom, literally had a bedroom. I had a desk, a file cabinet, a printer, everything like on one side of the wall, and my king size bed was my conference table. And I did a lot of stuff in that bedroom. I rolled out of the bed in the morning to my desk. But, once I was at the point, and I didn't push myself. I didn't push myself to get space until I thought I was able to afford it. Someone offered me free office space And I took it. Had it for about a year or so. And then things got different. You know, as things got better, as we brought on clients, then I grew. But I was very, very slow and methodical about growing because I didn't want to take on a whole lot of debt. I've never taken on more clients than I can handle. I'm just always very careful about that. I've built a very good reputation for myself. I've been in business in this town for over 30 years. And I still have a good reputation. And this is Washington, D.C., and people get run out of here all the time. So I feel thankful, very thankful and blessed that I'm still here and still standing.
Yeah. Well, I'm thankful for that too. I think mentors are super important because oftentimes, like you mentioned, like you started your business from your bedroom. And the amazing thing about a lot of Black women entrepreneurs is that we're going to jump and we're going to take that leap. Even if we don't know exactly what we're doing, we're going to figure it out along the way. And so the great things about mentors is that as you're jumping, you know, you can have someone to kind of help guide you so you're not just flailing in the air.
Exactly. Right. And I did jump. I had no plan. I did not go to Harvard Business School.
Well, look at you now. It's a great success story.
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't change anything. I went through rough patches and, you know, whatever, but I wouldn't change it. I learned so much. I mean, it's an education that you'll never get in any kind of college.
I agree. So we're going to open up the floor a bit for questions to see if any of our attendees have any questions that they want to pose. So we're going to give people some time to see if they have questions. And if they don't, we're going to kind of continue on with the presentation.
Okay.
Yes, do not forget if you are an attendee to hit the icon with the hand to raise your hand, and we will unmute your phone and you can ask your own question. Right now, we don't have any hands raised, and there are no questions that have been submitted. We've got a pretty small group, so we would like for you to engage and get involved. If you have a question or comment, please let us know.
Okay, great. So while people are thinking of things to ask, then we're going to move forward with the presentation. Okay, so you kind of touched on this already, Ms. Caraway, but when should you get a mentor? And you had mentioned getting a mentor at the beginning of when you're thinking of starting your business. Sometimes when you're starting your business, you're at different levels of expertise. Maybe you're just starting out learning, let's say if I wanted to start a baking business, I don't know much about baking. So at the beginning, I'm a novice. I don't really know too much about it, but I'm reading recipes, I'm making cupcakes. And then, so as you grow in your industry or your career, your business, you eventually become an expert. And to be an expert at something is like the gold medal. It's like the pendulum. So I want to get your opinion. I know you already mentioned it earlier about when should you get a mentor and why do you think getting at the beginning of when you're thinking of starting a business is the best time?
Well, because, you know, when you get started, you know, you have all these things going through your head. You know what you want to do. Now, it's one thing if you have been to business school and you know how to do all this stuff, but a lot of us have not been to business school. And we just know how to do things, and we know how to do things of value. And we think that we can sell these commodities. So I think finding a mentor early that has done what you want to do can give you great direction and focus. But I wouldn't say, you know, mentors are available throughout your career. I still have mentors. I meet people all the time that I would now say they are my mentor. I mean, they're, you know, I talk to them, I bounce things off of them, they give advice, they call me up and tell me certain things that I should be aware of. And it's a little better when you're older because, you know, you've been there long enough and you've got a reputation and people, and I think they may not think so much that they're being a mentor, that they're, other than being, they may be being a good friend to you. Mm-hmm. But I always look at it as mentorship. Anyone that can teach me anything is a mentor. So it will go through the whole process the whole timing of your business from the beginning to the end. I just personally think I wish I had had a mentor very early on before I started, another mentor before I started.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't have made some of the mistakes that I made.
Well, yeah. Well, mistakes are important. They're important just as
every mistake is a learning experience.
It definitely is. So what we're going to do now is poll the audience again, just to get an idea of where you are, what stage of expertise are you currently in when it comes to your startup. So I'm going to let Mr. McFarland put the poll on the screen again and give everyone time to respond.
Okay, we'll close the poll in just a few seconds. Go ahead and vote. Your results are on the screen.
You get this every week? Once a month, twice a month, which is often enough. Mm-hmm. They love me.
Your results should be up, Celeste.
I see them. I guess when I mute myself, I keep forgetting to unmute myself. But what I was saying was, it looks like a lot of people that are a part of the webinar right now are in the novice and advanced beginner stages of, their business, which according to Ms. Caraway's advice is the best time for you to obtain a mentor to kind of help guide and shape where you're going and the brand that you're building for your individual startup. So thank you for everyone who responded and participated. And for those of you who actually are in the competence stage of of your expertise level for your business, it actually is also is like the perfect stage, because it's at this stage where you come with a baseline skill set. So you're not always looking up how-tos or recipe guides to kind of get an understanding of where you are in your business. You kind of have that baseline skill set, and you're able to have this very symbiotic relationship with your mentor. So you can offer them different perspectives, techniques and tactics that you have obtained from what you have taught yourself, as well as utilize the advice that they give you in a more beneficial way. So yeah, that's just a little tidbit for you guys. I think the next question, which is a really great question, especially as you get a bit older, you're not in school anymore, and you're not in necessarily situations or social situations where mentorship is encouraged. How do you go about finding a mentor?
Well, I don't think there's any like special rule about finding a mentor. I found mine just through people that I met along the way. I mean, I never, like, it's not like you go through the phone book.
Yeah.
And I want to be a baker, and who can I find in the phone book that might mentor me? And I think everybody finds them different places, and you have to be brave enough to ask people. A lot of people, are timid, and because, you're not that experienced in business, or because you're young, or for whatever reason, you might see, so you might meet me somewhere, okay? And you might be afraid to come up to me and ask me, you know, if we could like have coffee or have lunch. I mean, I do this with people, all young people all the time. We just go sit down and talk. And I think you'll find that if whatever business that you're in, find the people who are successful in that business who might be approachable, that you might be able to approach. I mean, don't look at Ken Chenault at the American Express and say, I want Ken Chenault to be my mentor. But someone maybe in your hometown or somebody at your church or an organization you might belong to that you really think can help you figure out what it is you want to do, and ask them. I mean, you know, most people, all they can say is no, and you just find someone else. But sometimes we're just so afraid to ask.
Yeah. So, what's the advice for someone who's afraid to ask?
Put your big girl panties on and just do it.
Fair. I agree. I agree. Your business and your idea has to overcome that fear. You have to have.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're afraid to ask people for things, you're not going to make it in business. It's not for you. You're not cut out. Because entrepreneurs are fearless. I mean, I have learned that. We're fearless. We make decisions. We're not afraid to make decisions. We do the hard thing. We take responsibility when we mess up. It's not an easy place to be, but it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding if you can stick to it.
Yeah, I agree. So on the screen for all of our attendees, these are some, organizational ways to go about finding a mentor, getting connected to a mentor. But I think Ms. Caraway made a great point about using events in your everyday life, like church, which is a great way to meet people and to network. I'll do a quick story. I was at a Bible study this past week, and someone had mentioned wanting to leave her job and start something new. And this was a group of like 22 Black women, and we were all talking, and we were like, somebody in this group will know someone, and someone did. And so it's just that easy way of just expressing your need and concern to someone and to a group where you feel safe and comfortable. And that's generally how it works.
You might know somebody.
Yeah, everybody knows somebody.
Right.
Okay, great.
That's for sure.
So we're going to open it up again for questions, and I actually have some questions already lined up. This question is from Alicia Bryan. She wants to know, how do you feel about adopting a virtual mentor, where you're following someone online, you're reading their books, you're attending their seminars, but you may not be able to have a one-on-one conversation with them?
Personally, I've never done it, but it certainly makes sense.
Yeah.
If there's someone out there, a motivational speaker or someone that you like, or yes, absolutely read their books, follow them, suck up everything you can from them. You probably, you may never meet the person, but certainly you can gain knowledge by reading, learning about their experiences.
Right. And I think it's a good point, like in this digital space, in this digital world now, I think having a virtual mentor is very interesting. I've never heard it before, but I think
I've never heard the term before at all. But as I think about it, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yes, it sounds pretty exciting. So oftentimes, this is a different question, but it's also kind of a follow-up from Alicia. So oftentimes, when you're preparing, you think of meeting a mentor sometimes as an interview, or like you should have done research. When you're interviewing for a job, you should kind of know a little bit about what the job does. So does knowing about the mentor's business prior to talking to them help with that relationship before asking them to be your mentor or meet for coffee? Or
absolutely. I would never go up to anybody and just ask them to be my mentor unless I had done some research and knew about them, knew about their background, and knew what they did.
Well, what happens when in DC, there's always, in DC in particular, since that's where I live now, but a lot of times there are social events and receptions where if you're new to DC, you're meeting someone for the first time. And maybe in that short amount of conversation, you may not have known of them, or you may have not known them before, but you're like, this person is where I want to be. Is that an appropriate time to ask them to not necessarily be your mentor, but for that coffee, for that lunch, to kind of talk to them further about what they do and ways that it can help you in your business?
Absolutely. Either at that moment, or get their business card, and the very next day, send them a note. Say, I really enjoyed meeting you last night. I would love to have coffee with you just to talk about, just to get your advice about certain things if you're willing. So you can either do it then or follow up. But always, every time you meet somebody, always keep that business card. Networking is golden.
Yeah.
And if you are in business, you have to network. You have to go to events. You have to do a lot of things you probably don't want to do all the time, but it's a lot of work. I remember when I first started out, I worked 7 days a week. I was in the office at 7:30 in the morning, and sometimes I didn't leave till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work to get started, but it's, if you can stick it out, it's worth it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so here's the question. Most people think that mentorship is designed specifically to help the mentee, the person who is in need of the mentoring. What are ways that you think mentorship can also help the mentor or be beneficial to the person mentoring that individual?
Well, let me just tell you, I have gotten as much from my mentees, as maybe more than they've gotten from me. I'm like, I'm an old lady. I love being around young people. They keep me young, but they keep me, on top of things, and I learned so much from them, and that's why I love doing it, really.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. So how have your, as the mentor, as the person providing the trusted advice to this up and coming, individual who wants to learn from you, how have those relationships kind of started for you? How did you go about meeting those individuals?
Well, a lot of them worked for me. I've since, in the last few years, I've downsized and I don't have employees anymore, and I just consult. But I was actually in business for 30 years, and I had a lot of young people come through my shop, and it was kind of a formula. I knew I'd keep them for 2 or 3 years and train them, and then they go off to bigger things, and that was great with me. I've got people that work for me. They're now working for huge PR firms, have worked for the State Department in Foreign Service, are lawyers. I mean, they do all kinds of things, and we're still all in touch with that. We call the group the Caraway Alumni Group, and we still are in touch with each other all the time. They'll ask me for advice, and I ask them for help. They're like 4 or 5 of them now are helping me promote our book.
Yeah. Oh, nice. That's amazing.
Because they were around during a lot of that time, so they remember a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, because I think oftentimes people forget the benefit to mentors as well.
Exactly. I'm sorry. And then I was going to tell you about another situation. Leah Daughtry, who was one of the authors of the book that's coming out, I hired her at the DNC when Ron Brown was chair to work on site selection for the convention. I guess it was 1992 convention. Now I work for Leah. When Leah runs conventions, I go work for her.
Yeah. Wow. Full circle, everyone.
Yeah, it really is full circle.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll ask William if we have any raised hands before we move forward a bit. Do we have any hands? No.
Yes, we do have one raised hand. Ms. Hyde, okay. Your hand is up, but you do need to unmute yourself.
Hello,
We can
good
hear you
evening.
now.
Good evening.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Great.
Good. My question was, should you have like a development plan written out before you seek mentorship? Because like I have an idea of the type of business that I would like to go into, but I don't know if I should have like a full development plan of the projected business that I would like to start before I seek mentorship. So can I get like a little bit of feedback on that?
I think it's helpful. I don't think it's necessarily necessary. But I always think it's helpful. The more prepared you are to do anything, it's helpful. You know, when you sit down with somebody, you know, they're not necessarily going to want to read your business plan, but you should be able to have that little 5-minute elevator pitch where you can explain what it is you're trying to do and how you're trying to get there and what you want them to do. I always tell young people, you always need to know what you want and what to ask for, because most times you only get one chance.
Yeah.
And you have to be prepared.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the question. I think that's good. I think a lot of times too, the idea is there, and if the passion is there, even if you don't have this beautifully written business plan,
Right.
you know, with the right font, with the right letters, I think people respond more to passion.
Yeah, I do.
Deliver it. You are the development plan. You know what I mean? So whatever what your words are saying, I think is super important. Even if you don't have a physical written copy of what it is that you want to convey. So yeah, but thank you so much for your question. We have some more questions, but I think we're going to move forward, and then we'll follow up with those again in a bit. Okay. So what should I expect from a mentor relationship? A lot of times there are a lot of expectations. So, and sometimes it makes you feel uncomfortable when you're meeting someone for the first time and you have this kind of, I don't want to use the word agenda, but you're like, this person can help me. So how do you handle having expectations for a relationship, especially a mentor relationship? And is it more beneficial to be upfront about what you expect and what you are hoping to gain from that relationship?
Well, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
everyone's different. I mean, you may get one thing out of one mentor and another thing out of another mentor. As I said, I've had women and men mentors, black and white. And they all brought different things to the table. So I think you should keep your expectations. Don't think that this is going to be like your mama or your daddy, because they're not going to love you like that. If you get somebody who's willing to help you in business, you know, don't bug them to death. And I think you'll figure out as you go along how much you can get from this person. With some people, it would be like a one-time lunch or dinner or coffee or something. With somebody else, it might be a lifetime. But I think that's what you have to figure out with each person, because each person, it will probably be very different.
Yeah. I think you also made a great point about having several mentors, like there's not just like one person, you know, for everything, having like a board of advisors, this team of people, you know, there's not one person for everything, you know what I mean? So it's okay to have more than one mentee.
One person may be good with proposals. One person may be good with, here's how you make money doing this. One person may be good at teaching you how to network. I mean, different people do different things, and you need to figure out, you know, what that particular person is good at and how much you think you can get from them.
Right.
And it doesn't take long to figure it out. You know, if you're a perceptive person, if you're a real business person, you'll figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we actually have another poll question. Yay. And this is just to gauge where the attendees feel like, what would you like to achieve from a mentor-mentee relationship? And what are your expectations? So I'm gonna allow Mr. McFarland to put the final poll on the screen, and then we'll give people time to respond.
We'll leave this poll open for a few more seconds, see if we can maybe collect another vote or two. Your results are on the screen, Celeste, and you're muted.
Thanks, William, because I would have forgotten to unmute myself. Okay, so it seems like most people are looking to make connections and network opportunities, which is really good. And then the second one is avoid pitfalls of self-learning, which I think is, as I mentioned earlier, about the number of Black women entrepreneurs growing so much, and oftentimes there is this leap, there is this jump without really, knowing what to do. So a lot of the businesses are kind of low entry barrier businesses, like hair salons and things like that, but it's often like self-taught. You have to figure out what to do. So I think that was a really good expectation. Yeah, so thank you everyone for responding. Great. So, as an organization dedicated to advocating and helping and speaking on behalf of Black women and their needs, I think it's great that you can always reach out to us. If you're interested in being a mentor, if you're interested in being a mentee and you don't know where to start, we would like to be one of those organizations that Black women entrepreneurs feel like they can turn to seek some type of guidance or assistance. So I just wanted to add that and plug that in there before we get to our final, session of questions, because we do have a few questions for you still, Ms. Caraway. And one question, it's from Nikki Winston, and she wants to know, how can you demonstrate your value as a mentee and reciprocate so that the mentor benefits also?
That's a good question.
It is.
Well, a few of my probably most of my mentees I worked for, so it was like reciprocity in terms of them giving to me guidance to me and my doing really good work for them. I think if it's someone that you don't necessarily work with, you don't want to overload them with things, but you want them to know that you appreciate what they're doing. Learn about them and learn about their business and the kind of things that they go through, and think of things that ways that you might be able to be helpful to them. Whether it be, whatever kind of business, helping them maybe reach an audience that they couldn't reach ordinarily, or helping them get a book out, but, you know, things that are important to them, if you know that, then you can try to help them from your end to make it more reciprocal. But I think most mentees are not looking for anything. They just, you know, they want to see you do well. If they mentor you, they want to see you do well. They're not looking for anything from you. You know, send them some flowers every now and then, or just, you know, show ways of appreciation. But, you know, they just want to see you be successful. Them being able to take some credit for your success is enough.
Yeah, I think that was actually really good advice. We have another question from Brittany Scott Smith. When working with a mentor, would you have a plan of action beforehand, or is that something that you should create with your mentor in order to keep you both on track towards a specific goal?
I think you should individually have your own plan of action no matter what. I mean, not necessarily for a mentor, just for you. So if you have it, something you can share with someone and they can help make it either more robust or tell you what's good and what's bad. But I think, you know, you don't always know when you're going to meet somebody. So you're not always going to have a plan to say, here's my plan. I meet you at a cocktail party. Here's my plan when you read my plan.
Yeah.
The most important thing is to make that contact, get that business card, and follow up. Then you can do all that stuff.
Okay, great. So why do you think so many people are reluctant to engage with a mentor? So maybe you do get that business card and maybe you do follow up maybe the next day, and then it's kind of like silence.
Everybody doesn't want to be a mentor.
Yeah.
I
That's
mean, it's
true.
like you go through 50 people and not find anybody who really is interested in being your mentor or really is interested in you. You got to find the right one. So it's not, it's kind of hit or miss. I mean, there's no, I don't think there's any real formula for it. It's just being consistent and, you know, not giving up. I mean, you can't, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you cannot have thin skin.
Yeah.
If you do forget it, it's not going to work, because you're going to have so many people tell you no that, you know, you cannot let it get to you.
Yeah.
You just have to stay strong and stay on point and stay on your message and keep moving forward. And if you have a good idea, and if you have, you know, the right support and the, you know, the money that you need to get it done, it'll all work out. But it's not an easy thing.
That's true. And I think a lot of people forget that a mentor-mentee relationship is still a relationship. So I don't have a special word for this other than vibes and energy, and being able to tell if this is the right relationship. Because engagement, it won't be easy. Obviously, in any relationship starting off, it may be a little awkward, but you can tell if the energy is there where, you know, this is going to be beneficial to both of us as a relationship and as a friendship and as something that, you know, you want to grow and cultivate. All right. So does not having a mentor, sorry, we're moving on to the next question, but does not having a mentor contribute to the success or failure for your business? And this is from Susan Adams.
I mean, I think having a mentor is great. It's always helpful.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are other ways. I mean, you read and you learn, and you read articles and you read books about people who have gone into business. And I think you can probably, it's always great to have a mentor, but I don't think it shouldn't stop you if you don't.
Right. Yeah. I think the number, I keep going back because it's just such a crazy number, 164%, but the number of Black women-owned businesses that continue to grow throughout the years, that regardless of the fact that a lot of Black entrepreneurs and Black women entrepreneurs in particular are saying, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go, but we're still going to do it anyway. The success is out there. Mentorship is just one avenue to help you navigate, you know, you starting that business and increasing your chances of success, but it does not determine, whether or not your business will fail or succeed. Right?
Exactly. That's up to you.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so here's another question. With loaded schedules and countless obligations, how do you find, build, and cultivate meaningful mentorship relationships as an adult?
You have to make time. I mean, we all have loaded schedules, but if it's something important to you, you just have to make the time. You schedule it like I always say, going to the gym. It's on my calendar like an appointment.
Your
And you just do certain things that you need to do.
Mm-hmm. So
If it's important to you, you'll figure out the time and how to make it happen.
that's true. That's true. We go to happy hour every Thursday.
Exactly. Go to
Just
the club on Saturday night, so you can figure it out.
Okay, so when do you know when to take a mentor's advice and when not to take their advice?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
How do you know when to take a mentor's advice and when not to take their advice?
Okay. A lot of it's just common sense and judgment.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to answer that question. It's just, I know when somebody's giving me good advice and when they're not.
Right. I think oftentimes, especially when you're first starting out in a business or anything and you decide on a mentor, you kind of see them as what is the word? The model.
Like the end all and the be all.
Exactly. So if you're like, this doesn't, I guess I'm answering my own question when I'm talking, but so when you look at them as the model and the example, oftentimes when they give you advice, even if it's something that may go against a little bit, or you're confused, or you're not really sure, you don't know what to ask, you're like, well, they know because they've done this before. So is it just like a gut thing? This just doesn't feel right to me, so I won't follow it?
Well, I can only speak for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, it's my gut, and I always trust my gut. I know if something is right or something is wrong in my gut. And I know if somebody tells me something that I feel would work well for me, I'll feel that, and I know it. If I don't, then I'll be very polite and thank you, but I'm just not going to do it.
Right. All right. Listen to your gut, everybody. Seriously. Especially as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. My gut has never proven me wrong. Yeah. And when I don't follow it, I wish I had.
Yeah, I will agree with that actually. William, do we have any more raised hands for questions?
At this time, we do not have any more raised hands or questions that have been submitted.
Okay, great. So I don't have any more questions on my end either. I don't know if there was any piece of advice, maybe something we didn't touch on that you're like, I don't want to leave this webinar without, dropping this nugget for everyone that you want to share before we do closing remarks.
Well, the one thing I've already said, and I still say this to everybody, and I think it's the most important thing, and people, just, they don't do it. You really have to know what you want and what to ask for, because most times you get one shot at it. And if you blow it, that's it.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance to meet with Vernon Jordan or, Hillary Clinton or, not necessarily anybody that big, but someone who you think is huge or somebody that you admire, go in there with a plan in your head and know what you want to ask them for.
Yeah. Plan of action.
Absolutely.
A plan of action before the plan of action with your mentor. You should have a plan of action for what you need and what you want and what you're asking
plan of action in your head, but you need to be able to articulate it.
Yeah.
And say, this is my plan of action, and this is where you can help me.
Great. So before we do closing remarks, I also want to tell everyone about your book, For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Politics. I was actually was that Wednesday night? I was at the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, and they gave us a copy of your book, and it was so exciting. Everyone was saying, we did get it. So can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, it's definitely a labor of love. It's like a love letter to Black women. It's written by myself, Donna Brazil, Mignon Moore, and Leah Daughtry. We've been friends for over 30 years. All worked at the DNC. Well, most of us worked at the DNC, but we all got started in Jesse Jackson's campaign. So the book it's part memoir. It's very much history, and not just Black history. It's history. We have worked collectively on every presidential campaign since 1984, and we've all worked at the DNC. We've been through Democratic politics. I was a member of the DNC forever. And it's about our experiences and what we went through in politics. It's got some great stories, some really funny stories, a lot of great stories, but a lot of lessons learned, and what we learned along the way, and how we figured out how to get a seat at the table.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
it's great. I'm very, very proud of it. Very excited about all of this. And watch The View on October 5th. We're going to be on The View.
What? Oh yeah. Let me put that in my calendar actually right now. That's amazing. Congratulations on that. I'm super excited. I'm super
great tour coming. We're going everywhere.
Awesome. Well, congratulations and thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your words of wisdom. They've been very, very helpful.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So you guys, we're going to close out the webinar. I don't know if Ms. Mathis wants to do it, if she's there.
Yeah, she stepped away.
Okay. Well, Ms. Mathis is always great at this, and I will do my best, to, But basically, we really want to thank Clara Axum and William McFarland from Clarification Mediation. Every month, every fourth Thursday and fourth Friday, they are here with us behind the scenes, making sure this webinar is put together. And we are very grateful and we really do appreciate all your hard work. We also want to remind everyone that we have our pitch competition. It will be November 9th during the National Convention in DC. And we want to encourage everyone to submit your business application. Go online, go to ncnw.org, download the application, submit your idea for your business or startup. They are due this Sunday. So we are really excited and we really want to make sure everyone who wants to participate gets a chance to participate. So go ahead and submit your business idea. And we also obviously want to invite everyone to attend the National Convention, November 9th to 11th in Washington, D.C. So we hope to see everyone there. And I want to again thank Miss Yolanda Caraway for, staying with us throughout today, working through all of everything. And we really, 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 really do appreciate you and your time. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Oh, we have a webinar tomorrow, the Millennial Entrepreneurs webinar on email writing strategies tomorrow morning at 11. So I hope 11:30. It's not 11. It's at 11:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So join us tomorrow morning for the Millennial Entrepreneurs webinar. All right. I think that's it.
All right.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.